To Forging Freedom into the Fire, the podcast where men sharpen themselves and build brotherhood. I'm Zach Monroe, your host, and every week we dig into real stories, gritty adventures, and the mindset it takes to live free and lead strong. Pull up a chair by the fire and let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of Forging Freedom into the Fire podcast. I'm excited to have another episode here with one of my best friends, Adam. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about confidence. We had another opportunity to do a 3 mile walk again today, this afternoon. Before we get into that conversation, I just want to give a quick update on some things going on with Forging Freedom and some reminders. So we are down to the wire here. By the time this podcast comes out, we'll be at our 5th side quest, which is going to be kind of that survival skills, learning how to read a map, learning how to use a compass, hopefully with our buddy Len Mackey up in Potsdam. So more details are to come on that. So if you have been following along with Forge and Freedom content and you're like, hey, those side quests look pretty cool, but haven't had the opportunity to join, maybe it's schedule, maybe it's hesitation, please try to join us. And if for any reason this podcast I am able to get it edited and out beforehand, don't forget we are doing the sunrise paddle this weekend. That is going to be Sunday morning. We're going to launch from the Wilson Hill boat launch via kayak, and we're going to go catch the sunrise on the water. So we're looking forward to that one. If you don't have a kayak and you need one, get a hold of me. I can try and hook you up. Also, I want to send a reminder that Forge and Freedom, if you've been following along with our content, you enjoy some of the conversation, and this mission of brotherhood through adventure resonates with you. Check out our website, forgeandfreedom.com. And we have all of our podcast episodes are up there. The blog is up there. And super important, we also have a merch store. Adam's got one of our shirts on. I've got one of our hoodies on right here. And so what a great way to continue to support this project and what we're doing. And also be a part of the brand and the lifestyle that Forge and Freedom really stands for by picking yourself up some merch on the merch store via the website. With that said, let's just dive right into it. Let's dive into the conversation that we sort of left off from at the end of that walk. And so the topic of today's conversation is confidence, and how confidence is so important for men to really kind of manifest and kind of communicate with the universe what they want in life, right? And it can be, we talked about it, it's applicable to so many different things. Being confident in your skills and abilities as an athlete in a sport, being confident in your knowledge and your skills and how they incorporate into the workplace, right? And finding those keys to hone in on that confidence in order to really get what you want in life, right? So, um, let's take it from there. What are your thoughts on confidence? Where have been some moments in life where, on both sides of it, maybe starting with a situation where maybe a lack of confidence and you kind of saw the outcome of that, and on the other side, a situation where you had a really good example with your health journey and the confidence that you have with your body and communicating with it, how that's also been a positive outcome by having the confidence. So yeah, I'd like to hear from you, and just from both angles of it.
Yeah, before we go in deep about talking how confidence and um, is pivotal for my health recovery, I'm gonna kind of go back to the school days where I wasn't all that confident. First off, I was diagnosed with ADHD, so I had a hard time concentrating, and uh, keywords like disability, came in, and
Mhm.
it, you know, I didn't really realize it then, but it kind of tarnished my confidence right away. Being diagnosed ADHD, telling a young kid that he has a learning disability, and pretty much right out of the gate, I was kind of limited, or they were limiting my beliefs, and I struggled through school. I struggled for a large part, and if it wasn't for sports, there'd be no way I would have made it through. However, the confidence that I've gained through sports kind of bled into my success in school, and I didn't want to miss out. So I pushed myself, and it was difficult. And in a lot of ways, I didn't really try in a way because, like, what I heard was, I struggle, I have a learning disability and whatever. So, like, why try? I'm
Mhm.
already kind of pegged. And that kind of stuck through it till I graduated. And then I got into college. And, well, put a asterisk in the first semester was a complete shit show. Like, yeah, didn't put too much into school and got into the partying scene. But
Mhm.
after that, I was like, holy shit, I got to get my shit together. I'm gonna fail out of college
Yeah.
and not be able to play hockey. So I'm just like, get my shit together. But I was in liberal arts, so it still really didn't connect. And then I got into a program that I thoroughly enjoyed, physical therapy. And I found out that all the pretty much bullshit that I was led to believe in K through 12 was because I just wasn't interested.
Mm.
And the moment I became interested in what I was learning, I took off like a rocket, and the confidence built quickly, and I excelled.
Mhm.
And I was just surprised. And I started learning, how to take tests and um, being comfortable and uh, confident in it. And that really led right into my career of physical therapy. Um, and I excelled in it, and it was just uh, it was awesome. So from one end to another, um, I can tell you that confidence made a big impact of the way I functioned.
Mhm.
And once I learned to utilize that confidence, it was, yeah, it did a lot of good for me.
Opened up a lot of doors and opportunity. So I want to go back to something that you originally started with. So you started with the base foundation, those developmental years of childhood, right? And we got into some really good discussion this morning about how your childhood development years are the core foundation of building confidence, right? And there's some environmental factors that help with that sometimes, right? It's maybe having love and affection, support from parents. Maybe it's having good relationships and positive adult mentors in your life who can instill that confidence in you when you're young. And so, someone like you who had the challenge of a disability and the communication of that is really important, right? Like, do you think that when you were younger and that was happening, you're like, oh, I've got ADHD? Like, in your head, did you ever think, like, oh, something's wrong with me? Like, what's wrong with me? Right. And so,
Yeah, in many aspects, yes.
mm-hmm,
Just, the diagnosis and the language,
mm-hmm,
disability itself,
mm-hmm,
um, which, I learned over the years that it's not a disability. It's just
mm-hmm,
a different way that we're wired and way we all learn to see things differently. And I was just in tune with, I guess, a different frequency than most. And I learned in different ways than a lot of the people around me. And once I realized that as a strength, then from in having the confidence that, okay, this way of viewing the world and material and learning and using it to my benefit, that's kind of when the light bulb went off and like, okay, I can do, a lot of different things that I might have thought I was limited because hearing the keywords or, disability,
mm-hmm,
ADHD, and getting tangled in with that kind of stigma and just believing, it's, oh, I just can't pay attention. Well, find out it's not necessarily true. I just have to utilize different techniques. And right up till, I mean, recently, and I'm with learning. how important breathing is. And kind of a little side thing that I've learned about breathing is some believe that ADHD is actually a breathing disorder, and that a lot of ADHD people that have been diagnosed are really in a state where they're breathing too quick, hyperventilating, and that's what causes this constant thinking.
Hmm.
You're like fueling it with your breath. And I just came over this a few weeks ago and I thought what a profound thing. And here I am learning and pushing into uh, deeper depths of breathing, and I stumble across this that and kind of having a realization right now, connecting it together, um how powerful to take a moment, take a breath, slow down, because that's when I find that I'm at my best, when I have to pay attention. If I
Hmm.
start by just slowing down, then I realize, okay, I can concentrate.
Hmm.
Um, and I guess it's kind of profound just to think about that ADHD could be as simple as
Breathing, and
breathing.
instead of what we possibly know as chemical imbalances, they say, or whatever the case may be. Like I said, I'm not a medical expert, but I've personally struggled with my own bouts of like ADHD symptoms, maybe on a minor level, possibly undiagnosed for a while, like trying to navigate through that. And I think you had said something important, stigma, right? And like trying to maybe put it towards the back, like we talked about in that last episode, and pack it down and pretend like, oh, then that's not the case, right? Or it's for some other reason. I'm busy minded, or I forget a lot of things, right? I used to blame a lot of things on the many concussions I had, and I mean, it's still that's a possibility. I'm sure from all those years of playing football and hockey, and just roughhousing as a kid, right? There's probably a little bit of minor CTE kicking in there somewhere, right? Um, but coming to the realization that these are also some possibilities, and so hearing you say that and saying breathing could really be a beneficial, what's the word I'm looking for?
Practice or
Natural
tool.
practice, like a natural medicine, right? To maybe help overcome that is kind
You
of
hit it spot
interesting.
on. It's the natural
Mhm.
medicine for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, I kind of want to go back again to where we started on the confidence in that journey through, and it was interesting to hear you say how, um, as you started as a child in school, and having, that diagnosis of ADHD as a kid, and how it impacted your confidence and ability to, um, excel to a level of academic successes you might have wanted at a young age. But the fact that sports and your confidence in your skills as an athlete help kind of counterbalance that a little bit.
Yeah,
I think.
it definitely did, and in a way, it was necessary because my confidence was kind of absurd in the physical aspect. Um, yeah, football field, like this, just very high belief that like I was it. Like you competed against me, it was all out. Um, every drill was you're seeing my best, and like I felt it. It flowed through every cell in my body. I thought I was the dog on the field and believed it. I ate it up, and then finally like off the field I had struggles, and it was just like the two that kept me kind of a balance, of not getting too full of myself. I'm not gonna sit here and lie and say there hasn't been points of time where I
Mhm,
get full of myself, which we're, I guess, talking about the other side of the confidence.
mhm.
Is a healthy balance. But
And why is that so important? Remember what we had talked about earlier, and we said that having that ability to be confident is really goes hand in hand with manifesting what you want in life. right? Because confidence is the key to that communication with your inner self, with the universe, and really setting that sense of direction and finding that purpose that you want in life. A lot of it centers around it centers around quite a few things, but with today's topic being confidence, I think that is one of the major factors of setting that intentional direction that you want and aligning with it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and I think that's pivotal. And having confidence and being grounded to the natural self is huge. You can achieve unimaginable things,
Mhm,
and then that confidence that is based on insecurity, a false confidence,
mhm, mhm,
uh, yeah, that can be pretty damn toxic.
mhm.
And I've had them both, and I've learned, especially more recently, to ground and come from a confidence of being secure with yourself, being comfortable in yourself.
Mhm.
And I feel like that is power. And I think we can tie it into pretty much what we've talked about on this podcast, and
Mhm.
having just the confidence to sit here and do this is
Yeah.
part of that feeling comfortable with oneself, and also acknowledging that I'm not going to be perfect, that mistakes are going to be made, but I have the confidence to make those mistakes and learn from them and show up. And every time we do this, to feel more comfortable in front of the camera, in front of the mic,
Mm.
and really express and get out in a functional and positive way. And I think just by repetition and feeling comfortable with oneself, it allows that.
It's um it's a delicate practice and it takes
Certainly is.
time. It doesn't happen overnight, I don't think. And I think that some people, especially those that know me and have been around me a lot of my life, know who I am, and those who maybe even know me on a surface level would be surprised to hear that, for most of my life I've had social anxiety. And what happened was at a young age, I learned to just like survive through it, right? And there was times in my childhood when I was kind of a quiet kid for the most part. Um, I tried to be polite, I tried to be kind and proper, right? Have those principles instilled in me as a young child. And as I got older, um, that anxiety kind of it came along with me, but I started to grow out of it a little bit. And well, that was until I recently realized that alcohol is that will help cure your social anxiety,
Yeah,
right? Because
band-aid.
that's what it does. And so for having drank alcohol for so many years, um, realizing that that was kind of what I was using to get over that social anxiety barrier a lot of times. And being a year in, which actually I don't think we've even mentioned that, miraculously you and I hadn't talked about this at all until we reconnected, a couple months ago, and to discover that we've both been sober, that we haven't drank alcohol in a year, um was kind of this like wow revelation, like holy shit, like I'm not the only one doing that too, and realizing that that's not something that I need to cling on to anymore. And that I think that's been kind of key, because that's also created a little bit of confidence, right? That liquid courage sometimes that comes with it. Um, and
How
being sober a year in now and finding confidence without alcohol is almost its own new skill,
yeah,
right?
how has your confidence developed since you've quit drinking?
Well, first of all, I feel better. I just feel like I feel healthier. I feel more clear minded. My diet's better. My sleep is better. I pair that with exercise, and so all of that is great. And even my social life, believe it or not, I feel like my social life is better. I can have better conversations and better communication, and like I don't need to have 6 beers in order to really open up and have a conversation, or maybe say things that are on my mind. Right? There's kind of that classic tale of a drunk person's words are a sober person's thoughts, right? It's
Mhm.
like I've been able to just find that without even needing that, right? In just everyday conversations. And that can be really dangerous too sometimes. And, I don't, obviously I'm not judging anybody who drinks. And, I sometimes, especially after like a hot summer day, I'm like, man, a cold beer, just like the actual like act of having a cold beer, right? As part of routine is still there sometimes, but I've been able to find that in coffee,
Mhm.
right? And I talked about coffee, like I love the taste of coffee. I love the flavor. I love the technique, the different techniques of making coffee. I find that very fascinating. But more or less than anything, I like it as part of my routine, right? So kind of
Certainly.
circling back to your original question, like how has my confidence grown? I would say it's a combination of all of those, right? And confidence that, well, first of all, I'm not waking up the next morning going, "Oh shit, what did I do last night?" Because
Yeah,
you
what to
want to,
do,
you
what
want
to
to,
say.
yeah, you want to kill your confidence. Oof, have one of those mornings. Been
Yeah,
there, time right
been
there. I'm like,
there.
"Oh shit, what the hell did I do? What did I say to that person last night? Oof, that's not good." Um, so like just knowing that I can wake up and I can be clear minded and understand who I am as a man and as a person has helped me in my confidence alone. And kind of going on the other side of that too, um even in adulthood there's been times where I haven't been super confident in things, right? And so there's and I kind of want to move into kind of the other section that we had talked about, of giving yourself grace, forgiveness, and forgiving yourself sometimes too, because those sometimes pair really well, right?
Mhm.
If you can learn to forgive yourself, then that will also help you instill confidence in yourself too as a person.
100%. And forgiving others. And you got to realize too that when you forgive others, you're really forgiving yourself. Like we are
Mhm,
all, like we talked about, interconnected. So you're a reflection of how you treat others. Like it's going to manifest into a physical self of how you treat others. I mean, there's that um saying, love your neighbor as I love myself.
mhm.
I think that's so,
That's a commandment actually, right?
yeah,
Not that it's not a religion based podcast, but I do know like that's just like one of those commandments, and regardless of whether you're any religion that you are, or atheist, whatever you believe, that's just like a core principle of humanity,
correct.
right?
And there's a lot of those lessons in religion, and it, like, I think you and I both can really care less about what religion you come from.
Mm-hmm,
It's taking the person for who they are. It doesn't matter what name you give it. It's coming from that same source.
hmm
Uh, but coming back to confidence, and specifically when we were talking about quitting alcohol, how you said it actually, that you feel like it's improved your social life.
hmm Which is funny because a lot of people think, and I think I've definitely been in social situations before, in where it's like people, you can kind of feel like you're being judged maybe a little bit, like, oh, why doesn't this person drink? Right, and you're
I've
like, oh,
certainly
do
felt
they
that
do they
way.
think I'm an alcoholic, or do they think that I've found Jesus, or what does the case be? And people are kind of awkward and don't always know how to interact. It doesn't change who I am, and I don't treat them any different. Like I'm like I get it. I think that I was probably in that position before,
Yeah, in that moment, you gotta
in that
forgive
moment.
them.
Yeah, for sure. And like they don't have a full understanding, and that's okay.
Yeah, for what
I
they do not know.
Yeah, I understand. And that's kind of all that needs to happen is that if I understand, I know what I'm doing, and I'm happy in what I'm doing. That's fine, you know. Um,
Yeah, that is what matters.
but it's also entertaining being sober, and when
It
other people
is,
can be like, "Oh wow,"
absolutely.
you just see a lot of other, you know what I mean, things that you wouldn't normally see.
Mhm.
You're part of that circle of people who are drinking, but it's definitely an interesting journey. It's been an interesting journey, and
And
I think the health factors are really the biggest plus side of being clear minded. So important.
well, in that way, it's given me more confidence. Stepping away from alcohol and still being able to be around it and socialize in it
Hmm.
has given me a tremendous amount of confidence.
Hmm.
I feel just more comfortable with myself. And it's like removing that alcohol, you're like stepping up to the plate and taking that swing no matter what, like giving the attempts.
Hmm.
That alcohol pretty much inhibits you ever stepping up to that plate.
Hmm.
So you're just pushing those feelings or those insecurities down the road.
Hmm.
And that just it pulls from your confidence. The amount of confidence that I've grown since quitting alcohol is tremendous. And it comes from from a lot of things that you said and just being healthier and having it, all the stuff that falls in line with that. But there's this underlying like I am comfortable enough to not drink. And like every time I go out into a social setting and people are drinking and I choose not to,
Hmm.
I get this overwhelming like sense of pride
Hmm.
and just like
Not that you're better than anybody else, right? But it's more pride probably in yourself,
at 100%. I am
right? Because there's
solely focused on the way I feel about myself, not what others think of me
hmm.
or judging others to make myself feel better.
Hmm.
And I've done that before and alcohol really accelerates that.
Yeah.
Like it puts the ego at the forefront. And yeah, you get judgy, you start diminishing other people to try to make yourself feel better and just you're not going to find success or the success that you thrive for by doing things like that, by putting others down,
Hmm.
by or putting off um responsibility
Yeah.
and just like really taking it.
That's the other thing I found with it too. Sobriety of from alcohol is the ability to navigate and manage stress better. So, I think that alcohol is often used as a mask to stress, right? Like, oh, I'm going to have a beer and all the stress is going to go away,
100%.
right? You come home from work, you have a beer, right? And you're like, try to relax. Um, not not needing that, I think is super important to understanding where the stress is coming from and being able to work on that in a healthy practice, in a healthy manner. And so that's been a huge revelation for me too, you know. And that still it all ties back into confidence because the less stressed that you are, the more under control you are of yourself, your mind, your body, your health, everything, the more confident that you will be,
Certainly.
right? Um, there's some barriers to confidence sometimes too, right? I like the example that that childhood development and confidence is really key, right? But it doesn't have to necessarily mean everything. right? You can learn to build that confidence, even if it wasn't a part of your core
Right, there's
youth
always
development.
exceptions.
There's always exceptions, but part of that is having the right mindset to 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 get through that brick wall, to use the analogy we used on the last podcast, or to get around the brick wall instead of just running through it. Um, and so there's kind of different situations, right? And I think we talked about it a little bit earlier, but like there's always going to be a group of people who just by societal and environmental factors just lack maybe that love and affection and that confidence or that ability for parents and positive adult mentors to take time and do that. And I think teachers can fill that role sometimes. I think coaches can fill that role where maybe it isn't within the household.
Certainly.
um, and then on the other side, there's going to be that group of people who have, are fortunate and grateful to have maybe a two-parent household or a good co-parenting relationship, um, or enough positive adults and mentors to surround them, and but also just be able to sit down, right, and like pay attention, right, and focus and communicate and build the confidence at a young age for kids, right. And there's always going to be kind of those two groups. And if you look at the factors, that group that has that core developmental um, instilled confidence kind of has a forged path, to use the forge and freedom metaphor, kind of has that path forged for them by just having that. And then there's that other group who doesn't have that path forged for them, and so they're basically bushwhacking, right? They're finding their way through to get onto the path,
Mhm.
right? And so it's a little bit more difficult for that group sometimes. And I think there's a lot of men that can look at that and maybe relate to either one side or the other. And it's super important to understand that, because then you can understand your purpose and where you're at and do your own self assessment and say, okay, am I bushwhacking or am I already on the trail? Right. And then once you can come up with that determination, then you can figure what you need to do, right, to continue either forging on that path or continue to bushwhack to get back on the trail. Right. And um, I forgot where I was really going with that, but
Yeah, I think there's so much to kind of unpack, um, because on the flip side of kind of what you're saying, that struggle to find it, like if you were on the path where your parents didn't really instill it, or you just didn't have good role model or someone to kind of to really teach you confidence, and that trajectory on a percentage wise, obviously they're going to struggle at a lot of aspects of life,
mhm,
you know, emotionally, physically, the job,
mhm,
you know, they're going to have a hard time because they don't have that confidence instilled. And we've talked before, like you're projecting, manifesting, and radiating at that frequency. So the thing that's what you think you are. So that's what you get. That's what you're going to receive.
mhm.
But that also, if you use that difficulty,
There goes the dog.
use that difficulty and have it motivate you, and you learn how to be confident. Boy, what a tool that can be. And I'm just coming from like experience because I've gained so much confidence by being forced into a health situation and having to grow through that.
Mm,
And I lost a lot of my confidence during that. It stripped me down, stripped me bare. And
it's easy to lose confidence sometimes too, right?
absolutely. And when things aren't working out and you like and it begins the snowball effect and you don't really realize it, it can get out of control.
Mhm,
You know, you start thinking, why me? Or I was never taught this, or poor me, or I've the deck was stacked against me. Like it's easy to start convincing yourself why you're not enough or why you can't get out of the situation you are until you realize that it has everything about believing in who you are and having that confidence and that motivation to, okay, I may not understand it now, but I'm going to search. I'm going to actively look to improve in those areas. Read if it's reading books or getting a mentor or finding um, a class and
Mhm.
just start really learning about it and then applying it can do it can do wonderful things. So anyone out there that is out there and cards have been stacked against you and you just haven't had good role models or parents and you just don't have that instilled confidence, believe in yourself that it is possible to become confident in yourself
Mm.
and having grace and forgiving like allows you to open that door and be patient with it too. You're just not going to be confident. You can't just flip a switch. It's a process. And then on the other side of that, the ones that have confidence instilled, they might go along being successful to a
Mhm.
certain degree. Maybe they want more and they need to kind of learn the underlying, a little go in deeper and like learn how to, like we said, process the confidence from a grounded place. Because a lot of those kids that are well off and taught that confidence could also be arrogant pricks and never
Mhm.
really realize that their confidence is that other side flip side of this toxicity of being so damn confident you don't listen or care what anyone else says to a degree that you just walk through everyone around everyone and just you're disconnected.
That's could key in on the word overconfidence can be a killer, right? Like you have to be very cautious in finding that balance because with ability of having an abundance of overconfidence can also, like you said, manipulate you and manipulate your mind into believing that everything can come easy and that you might not have to I don't know, like work as hard as for something, but that's not the case because there's endless amounts of growth in this lifetime and unless you are comfortable with sustaining the status quo level of whatever you've achieved so far, right? And so you're part of that group that has had that path forged for them. That's great. And like if that's what you've got and you're happy with that, that's cool. But you have to be careful not to lean into that amount of overconfidence too, because not only is it can it misrepresent your character sometimes, but it can also, stunt your growth.
Certainly.
So there is definitely that abundance in pretty much everything that we talk about. I feel like it's all about finding balance,
I
right?
was just thinking the same thing.
It's not
Comes back to
leaning
balance.
yeah, it's not leaning to one side or the other too much in a big thing. So if we talk to that
Wasn't
other group who's still trying to find that confidence in that path because it hadn't been instilled, um, stop making excuses. Let me tell you, if there's anything that I've learned, when I was younger, especially in that early adulthood, late teen adolescence, I leaned into so many excuses. Everything was an excuse of why, you know, why I couldn't do this or why I couldn't do something or why I wasn't where I wanted to be, right? And as soon as I stopped making excuses, that's when my life changed personally, right? I just started owning up to what the reality is and was, and confidence came with that. Confidence grew with that. And it's so applicable in so many situations. Professional athletes, they just talked about it on the hockey game I was watching the other night. Can't remember who it was. Somebody from the Maple Leafs. He had a really bad season last year, and he was like publicly like, "Yeah, I'm lacking the confidence." And then going into the preseason and the start of the NHL season, he's like he he's on a hot streak, and he spent his summer working with a life coach, and his life coach getting into his head. He talked about this and working to basically, instead of just on the ice working on his skating and his stick handling and his skill work, he was working on his mental game, the confidence, right? And so he's just like a case study of how important that is in a professional athlete, but it's so applicable to so many people. It applies to us. I said it this morning. If we, and there's three levels to it too, right? There's no confidence, there's kind of that mid-level confidence, and then there is kind of that success, or not successful, but there's that like peak level of confidence, right? And what comes with each three of those are different, right? No confidence is you're not communicating with yourself, with the universe to manifest kind of the direction and what you want. The mid confidence, you get out of it what you put in, right? You get maybe some mid impact, you get maybe some mid success, some mid direction, but you don't get the full thing because you're still, at times you've got the confidence, but at times you're also doubting yourself, right? So you're balancing that right now. And then as soon as you achieve that peak confidence, that's like, okay, I've made my mind up. This is what I'm doing, right? And it's going to happen, and I'm going to make that impact, or I'm going to be successful, or whatever the case may be. And that's kind of where I feel that I'm at with this, right? And I look at it and I frame it very carefully, because I look at them like, oh wow, we've got 100 people have downloaded the podcast. Without being in a mid confidence mindset, I'd be balancing that and being like, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. But in the peak confidence, I'm like, this is going to happen. It's going to take time. And I'm going to keep grinding. We're going to keep gritting it out. But it's going to get there, and the message is going to get out there. And just being able to be patient and find that time is where that peak confidence then comes. And you have to stick to it too. That's so important. You have to practice it in everyday behavior. You have to live and breathe it, because if you don't, it's easy to slip back into that mid confidence level, or that complete no confidence level. And, then you have to rebuild that framework from the ground up all over again. So achieving that and staying there is huge, but it's also not easy, because, the way society is set up, in the way that, everything is kind of managed today, it's very easy to look around you and be influenced by things that could make you doubt that.
Yeah, certainly. And I think talking about that balance, if you kind of look at it as a bell curve, like one side having no confidence, the other side all the confidence world or
Mhm.
overconfident. I think putting that peak on the top of the bell curve. So like, and in that is connection. Like I think being at top of that bell curve is being connected with oneself.
Mhm.
Because then no matter what, like if you are open to be like, this is a unpredictable outcome, may work, may not work. But if you're comfortable with both of them, obviously having like this is gonna like being able to convict yourself and having that conviction being like this is gonna work, and but being open to maybe it not working in the way you think it will work out
Mhm.
still counts as like it works, or you learn the lesson that is needed.
Unbeknownst to you,
Yeah.
right? So kind of this like hidden effect,
So there's
or
uh,
background effect, right?
yeah, so you're projecting But to be comfortable and confident enough to be like, no matter what, like I know that I'm trying my best.
Hmm.
And if that is connected to the root and coming from your heart and your soul, then you can do no wrong.
Hmm.
Like you're living with intention to do the best you can and be bold and step out and take those risks and accept them. No matter what happens, you're going to grow from that. And I think we've talked about before, and being authentic and having these conversations and learning about ourselves and talking about this deep connection and confidence and doing things that we might have not never done because we kind of talked ourselves out of it
Hmm.
or allowed that fear to creep in and allow that voice to speak for us and tell us why we can't do this or start making those excuses like you were talking before. And all of us do it. I mean, our physical self, it is an excuse driven machine. It'll tell you everything that it thinks that you want to hear. Kind of even tying into the cold plunge and taking our hoodies off today when we go for a walk. Like there's that little voice in there is like, no, it's cold. Keep your hoodie on, or
Yeah.
no, don't do that. It's too much risk, or you're not enough to do that. To be in that flow state where I'm like, no, I'm connected. I feel comfortable and confident in it, and it will happen,
Hmm.
and it's gonna play out. And allowing allowing the flow to take you there, and putting placing your confidence so deep in connection to the universe that you're just putting out there what you want, your aspirations, your intention, and then having enough conviction and faith to be like, you know what? It's going to all work out. I don't know how, I don't know when, I don't know why, but the flow is going to take me there, and I'm just going to go with the flow, have faith that it's going to bring me to where I want to be.
Hmm.
And regardless of that, of the outcomes, like I'm going to be comfortable there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't think we're just blowing hot air here either. Like, we're practicing what we preach. And so, I'll give you a quick story that last Saturday, I did the 3 mile ruck, and then we roasted some coffee with my buddy Divine. And, I had a 30-pound pack. It was 34 degrees outside. It was the beginning of duck hunting season. I blogged about it earlier this week. And I stepped out of that car and I froze my ass off. And I was like, oh, this is going to be something. But with nothing but a t shirt and shorts on, Divine as well, we made it all the way down to the end of the Whalen Park Trail and back, and we got back, and there was that I guess maybe the carrot dangling at the end of the stick of having that nice hot cup of coffee, to the point where it's like at that point it didn't even bother me, right? And so I was able to find myself in this mentality where I wasn't thinking about the cold. I wasn't thinking about how my nose was red like Rudolph, or my hands were, swollen like sausages more than they normally are. Um, it was just really this fascinating approach. And then fast forward to later that evening, we had some friends over. My in laws were over. We had a fire, and it had warmed up that day, which was nice. And then it got dropped back down again, right? The typical Northeast fall weather. And it was freezing, and I'm looking around the fire, and I'm not super on top of the fire, but I'm looking around like everyone's bundled up, everyone's got sweatpants, and everyone's got a hoodie on. And I look down and I realize I'm like, oh, I still have my shorts and t-shirt on. Like, I didn't even notice. And so the cold weather wasn't even really bothering me. I had really climate adjusted at that point.
Yeah, you push those voices away so far that they fell out
Yeah,
of your existence.
yeah.
Yeah, oh shit.
So it was like, damn, like this shit works. I guess I get sometimes you say it and you're like, okay, okay, I gotta make sure I'm doing that too, and you're like, okay, but it works.
Yeah, absolutely. Mind over matter.
Hmm.
And the more you exercise that and think about it and ponder of kind of what that actually means, the more you become comfortable with it and the more you find out like holy crap, like there's true benefit, health, wellness, psychological benefits of facing that.
Yeah,
Facing it and being able to like, okay, let's breathe breathe through it. Like I'm shaking like a leaf here.
yeah,
My body's freaking out. And be like, it is
yeah.
cold, dude. Go get a jacket on and be like,
Mhm. That's
no,
your
I'm
that's
good.
your body's fight or
One
flight
step.
too, right? So you have to
Yeah.
you got to battle that a little bit because your body's gonna tell you like, oh, you're cold, like you have to warm up, right?
Yeah.
That's
Go
your
get me.
reaction.
Go
That's when you
kill
start
yourself.
choking, right? But once you realize that you are capable, like 34 degrees isn't going to kill you. Now, you know, below zero wind chill, I mean, there are certain factors where you have to really be careful with that and limit
Well, if you
your take on it, right? Like you're not gonna, I'm not saying that you can do this type of technique and then be able to go out and survive all winter without a jacket and coat. Like that might not always be the case, but you'll be able to
and I'll
definitely
tell you you can
recognize.
if you progress into it. If you teach your body the proper way of handling that.
Yeah.
At certain degrees, yes. Like,
To it, I'm talking about like extreme weather
well,
conditions,
monks
right?
wrap themselves in wet cloths in extreme conditions. We're
Hmm.
talking -30
Hmm.
and can sit out there and dry a sheet by breath alone. But to get there takes a lot of work.
Mm.
So to just believe you can is that first step. That
Mm.
confidence in being like I believe in my innate ability to be superhuman, basically. If you think you're gonna do that in one day or one week, yeah, you're gonna end up killing yourself and
Yeah.
freezing like a you're gonna be a
You're gonna go
popsicle. Someone's
popsicle.
gonna
Yeah.
turn you, find you all frozen up. So like,
Hmm.
but if you progressively build yourself in it, you can go out. I mean, realistically, for for us, like we it doesn't make too much sense for us to push ourselves that far to withstand
Hmm.
below zero temperatures for a long period of time. Like we're just looking to condition ourselves to be comfortable when winter comes around and not let
Hmm.
cold dictate what we do. Because
Yeah.
then when it's -10 and we need a jacket, we don't need to. Yeah, we just put enough to keep our body temperatures warm enough so that we can maintain.
I would like the ability to be able to go to Whiteface and ski more than 5 or 6 runs without having to go inside to warm up. Right, because it gets so cold up there, like
It
especially when you
does.
factor in the wind chill. But to be able to go up and like not have to do 5 runs, like, oh, I gotta go in and warm up. Be able to like, my goal is to get up there this winter and just spend an entire day. I'm not talking like early season or late season. I'm talking like peak winter, right? I mean, as long as the conditions
Right,
not
frigid
pure ice.
conditions.
And I guess some of that also, it takes endurance to be able to do that, but like to just get a full day's worth, right? And especially because I don't have to go to the lodge anymore because I used to go to the lodge to get a beer. That was my excuse sometimes to go in. It's like, I'm gonna go to the lodge because I really just want a beer. And to not need that now, it's like I can take my pack, I can put my water, I can put snacks in there. Like I might want to go in to get lunch. But other than that, if I want to go out and I want to enjoy being out there, I want to be out there. I don't want to be in the lodge, right? And I thought about it
That's
for
the
the last
worst
like 10
coming out of the
years.
lodge.
And it's not cheap to go, it's not cheap to go skiing anymore.
Hell
it's,
no.
you know, the small fortune. So it's like to also maximize your value in what you're getting of that experience is so important. And if you want to do those types of activities, and this ties into what we are talking about in the last podcast of us encouraging people to find a winter hobby to get through the seasonal depression, to make the winter go by a little bit faster, to stay, in a better mental state, to stay in a better physical health state, to really find something they're passionate about and doing it in the winter. I suggest doing it outdoors too, but having that is so important, right? And so that was like one of my goals, and I have to have the confidence that I can in myself to be able to continue to do this type of progression, cold exposure, cold plunges in order to really achieve that goal. And I have to tell myself, okay, you can do this. If I don't have that confidence and I'm maybe in the middle or at the very end of not having confidence in it, I'm probably not going to do it. Right. So it all
Yeah,
kind of comes full circle.
and you're building it now.
Yes. Yeah. You got to give yourself
From
time.
from going on the walk with t-shirt on and cold, like you're already building that confidence and you're preparing your body for that.
Hmm.
So I won't be surprised when you do achieve that.
Hmm.
And
Well, you're going to achieve it with me.
I would love to. Unfortunately,
You,
skiing.
you're on this health journey, and I feel
Oh, I'm gonna get
I've
there.
got the confidence. It might not be this winter, might be next winter, but the other part of the confidence is getting other people to have the confidence in you too,
Uh,
right?
I will not um discount the fact that I may be able to get there this year because I do believe that I am on the right path and I will get there.
Hmm.
We're going back to not really like worrying too much about when or why,
Hmm.
but my intent to utilize these techniques to innately heal
Hmm.
is going to get me there. But you, that support, that is powerful. It's something money can't buy. And for you to have belief in me and the practices that I'm taking,
Hmm.
it's like the observation effect. It's like compounding my belief. It's it's accelerating it. It's magnifying it because I believe that you can feel it too. When
Hmm.
and I think the audience can feel it.
Hmm.
Even though they're across the screen, like the energy in my voice and the passion that I talk about it, like we've kind of talked about before about the podcast and doing this, how infectious
Hmm.
energy is. But like, I'm just gonna thank you for your contributions of your belief because I think that compounds and I think that it'll get me there just that much quicker
Hmm.
because not only you but my family, the
Hmm.
ones around me truly believe in me and know how strong I am and committed to getting back to where I am. So again, thanks for that confidence. Thanks for that belief.
Yeah, of course, man.
And
That's what brotherhood's all about. And today's topic of conversation isn't brotherhood, but it's always going to tie in because it's part of our mission, right? And I said I'm setting this my personal goal for you, right, with my confidence in you. But at the same time, that brotherhood piece is I'm going to respect your ability to know when you're ready,
mhm,
right? And I'm not going to lean into it and say, dude, suck it up,
yeah,
like let's go, like you're fine. And if we do get a chance, we're like, okay, you're like, I'm feeling like I'm in a good place. Let's go try to hit it. And we get there, and halfway through the day, you're like, man, I'm not doing it. I'm not gonna tear you down for it. Right.
yeah,
I might joke with you about it, but like I'm not gonna do it in a place where I'm gonna try to hit on your confidence for it. I'm gonna be like, okay, I respect Adam. He knows his limits, and like maybe this just wasn't the right time, and he's got to continue to work on that journey. right? And it could go vice versa too,
Yeah,
right?
and it
It could apply to me too. You could be like, I know you've been trying to do this exposure, like you got this thing. I get out there and I'm like, dude, I am frozen from head to toe. Like, I gotta go warm up. It's a good possibility, right? Because it gets pretty cold. And it's a long day. It's a long day too. So having that endurance too, it's like, I got kind of a short window to work on that, but you know, it's just something. It's just some type of aspiration, and you got to have that if you want to have purpose. You got to have some sort of aspiration. You got to have. You don't have to, right? Sometimes it's okay to actually not understand your purpose or your aspiration and find yourself kind of in this like limbo state. I've recently been in that, after getting out of nonprofit for 10 years. I was in that state. I was like, I don't really know what my purpose is now. My purpose has always been, helping people, right? And I'm like, how do I continue to do that in my next, you know, my next project, I guess, or in that next season of life. And so I started out, and I was kind of, I didn't, I was, so if you want to talk about the other side of where I didn't have confidence, I was kind of in that confidence state. I'm like, man, I don't know how to define my purpose now. I'm not getting up and going to work every day like I normally would, or, I'm not helping people as much as I normally would. So I'm like, man, I don't know my purpose. And I was starting to lose confidence kind of in my just in myself, right? And in my aspirations. And so, I had to tie some of the other conversations we've had, I had to kind of sit with my thoughts in silence for a little bit and really kind of clearly understand and clear my head and figure out, what does the next season of life look like, right? And so now we're sitting in it, right? And so you've seen kind of that piece in my life, and most recent too, where self confidence has negatively impacted me. And if I had stayed in that state, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. We wouldn't be having this conversation, right? So being able to collect my thoughts, being able to discover my purpose and my intention, as a man and as Zach, the husband and the father, and trying to figure out what that direction looks like. So much confidence ties into that, right? And I trying to build that back up through. It wasn't easy. It was not an easy journey. So I'm not gonna sit here and preach like, oh, this is something, you should be able to figure this out tomorrow. Like no. And it's okay to be in that. Sometimes you should be in that,
mhm,
right? Because as you grow and as you progress in life, like you're gonna go through those different phases, and being able to
unavoidable.
unavoidable, yeah,
No,
sometimes,
it
but
is unavoidable. I
yeah,
feel like it is unavoidable that
yep.
there's going to be obstacles in your way, but maintaining that.
Yeah, and there's people that could be listening to this right now that like, oh wow, that's me right now, right? So I would encourage that person that's listening, if you're in that type of state where you're struggling to find purpose, or you you're lacking the confidence, then I my advice would be go outside, leave the headphones, leave the phone, and just find something to do outside. I don't care if you just go outside and sit. I don't care if you go lay on the ground. I don't care if you go for a hike or go, sit in the woods hunting. Like whatever you do it in silence and find that clarity. And it's a scary thing, right? If you're scared of your thoughts sometimes, but you have to not be afraid of fear of your thoughts, right? You have to be able to just tackle them, right? And so as soon as you can kind of really get through that gate or open that gate up, right? And really start to tackle some of that stuff, then some of that confidence will come back in, right? That clarity and purpose and direction will start to come back in. And it might look different for different guys,
Mhm.
I'm almost positive it'll look differently or it'll play out differently, but like that's just kind of one case study on myself, I guess, of like, being at both ends of it. And just that's just being real too, right?
Yeah, and anyone out there that is going through it right now. I mean, both of us I know have went through it. We've We've had those periods of time where the belief was that we didn't have enough, that it's hard to imagine going on. If you are in that position, I love that advice. First off, getting outside, going for a walk, uh, yeah, whatever it may be to get you outdoors. Don't underestimate that. To get
Hmm.
out, get connected, it's huge. But if you're one of those people that are in the shit right now, just know that there's a way out, and brace yourself and give yourself grace and forgive yourself for
Hmm.
what is holding you there, and just breathe and take it one moment at a time. I can't underestimate. I mean, it might be a cliche that you hear everywhere, but it is like really, really believe
Yeah.
that it takes one step at a time, one day at a time. Be present where your feet are. Start from there.
Mm.
Don't go searching or looking out away from yourself. Like, tune in, breathe, listen, and you use the word tackle.
Mhm.
And I don't mind that because that's kind of what you're doing. You're taking it on, you're taking responsibility, you're owning up to it. But also disassociate from it. Like, it is not you.
Mm.
Your past does not define who you are now.
Mhm.
Whatever you've done in the past that you're holding on to and it has limiting beliefs, let it go.
Mhm.
The beautiful thing about the gift that we have, that we all have right now, is present. To be aware of now,
Mhm.
here and now, and realizing that you can be exactly who you want to be. Just start becoming it now. And you don't need to know how that may look or how that may come. You just have to have the belief that you're moving in that direction. Set your intention to be like, you know what? I'm just going to improve on one aspect, getting outside or going for a walk or calling a friend,
Mhm.
to take the simplest step forward and allow that to carry you forward, and allow it to bring you home, allow it to bring you to yourself, and you will see that there's nothing in this world that can hold us back
Mhm.
if we choose the right mindset and be and confident in what we believe, and that's instilled in that silence, in that motionless place. And a lot of us get there through pain and sorrow, and those are the times where we start with one brick
Mhm.
of rebuilding that foundation, having the confidence and the intention of improving and seeking more from life. Takes one subtle brick at a time. And don't sweat it. Don't sweat where you're going to put it, how you're going to put it. Just lay it down and allow it to work out.
Amen,
And
brother.
just take those steps.
Amen.
Amen.
Let's wrap it up on there, man. That's an hour's worth of just real talk about confidence. So, I hope that if you listen to this podcast today and you're someone who um, can resonate with some of the situations or some of the hypothetical talks that we've had, or some of the practices and techniques that have worked for us, right? Please, get outside, or try to find yourself that clarity and that sense of purpose. And don't be afraid to call your buddies. I think that's a big one, is check on your friends. That is so important. So, tune in on the next episode. And until then, keep forging keep showing up, and keep forgiving yourself too, always, because we're always growing. We'll see you in the next episode.